AIM-listed Strat Aero is a commercial drone supplier which offers what it calls an integrated global service to the rapidly growing UAV, or unmanned aerial vehicle market. Its newly appointed chief executive is Tony Dunleavy, who joins us now. Tony, welcome.
Thank you very much.
There's been a bit of a transformation even since you've taken over, since the beginning of October. Explain first of all the business model and strategy for Strat Aero.
Well, originally Strat Aero was a military training provider in the UAV/drone space. But when I got out there and I started meeting clients, start seeing what the opportunities were, it became very obvious that a full solution provider was needed. And that's somebody who would go to a client and say, what drone do I need? What sensor do I need? What software do I need? What communication capability do I need? Help me with the regulations. Help me with the training. Maybe you want me to fly over my assets, for example. Maybe you want to train my pilots to fly over the assets. And then very importantly at the end, what will I do with all this data? It's incredible the amount of data can be produced. So what does the client do with all that data? So that's the full solution, and we offer the full solution.
And since your appointment, you've already started by, I think you've made one acquisition, haven't you?
We've made one acquisition and one joint venture.
And what's that acquisition and where does that take you?
So GeoCurve was the main acquisition, and that's a traditional engineering surveying business that's been deploying UAV technology for a couple of years. And that effectively gives us on-the-ground capability to go out and start inspecting assets, to start doing those type of work. When I met GeoCurve, we both agreed that a full solution was what was needed, and that's why they joined Strat Aero, and now we're going to roll that out. We're currently doing it in the UK, and we're going to do it internationally. And
is that acquisition an idea and approach going to stay with you, or you've done for now, you're just going to consolidate what you've got and move forward?
No, we've more acquisitions to come.
And how are you going to fund this?
We're effectively funding it through the market. And again, as long as the acquisitions are accretive, and they will be, that's not going to be an issue.
Right, okay. Let's take a look in some more detail now about some of the recent developments in the market, because this is a market which is moving very, very fast, especially in military, as we know, commercials. You're not going to touch the retail market, are you? So that's out, isn't it?
No. Commercial and military are the two markets, and primarily commercial.
How do you see that market growing? Because, as I said, the potential is there to be made. I mean, I guess that people are moving into it all the time. What do you see as the global market for this area?
Well, most of the current reports are suggesting about $100 billion. So it's going to be a very, very large market. It's only at the embryonic stage at the moment, but it's going to grow. So, for example, Navigant came out recently and said that just the UAV market for inspecting wind turbine blades will grow to $6 billion. That's only one infrastructure asset. You can imagine utility companies, mobile companies, flood defences, etc. Anywhere there's assets, land, physical things, drones can normally add an awful lot of value to whoever owns them.
Strat Aero comes under the aerospace sector, and you're up against some really, really big names, some of which are finding the going tough at the moment. We heard a lot recently from some players in that area. I guess that a lot of those companies are going to want to get into the drone space. What is the competition like for you? I mean, how do you approach this as such a small company?
Yeah, I've been quite surprised at how thin the competition is, to be quite honest with you. Now, that will change, I totally agree with that. But right now, we've had two main avenues of investment. So from China, they've invested into the hardware businesses. DJI is the most obvious example. In the States, they've invested in the software businesses, such as Airware. Nobody yet, there is no other full services provider for industry out there. So I can go and I can get a drone off somebody, but what do I do with it? I can go to somebody else and get a software solution, but how do I actually feed that data into the software solution? And that's why we're going to offer the full solution. Now, I do believe others will come into this market. It's going to be so big, but right now we have a fairly unique space.
Let's look at your background, because you are you're an international accountant, aren't you?
Yes.
I think, really. You do have experience, I know, in the aerospace industry, but what do you bring? I mean, you're a CEO of a company which is hoping to grow and take market share and take the business forward. What do you bring?
Well, I have a background across many industries, everything from banking to aerospace. I've done a lot of turnaround. I've done a lot of growth in the past. I consider myself very good at M&A type transactions. I consider myself quite good at bringing two parties together in a mutually beneficial manner, and that's the nature of all of our transactions. It's not big co buys, small co. It's we're coming together to work out a better solution for clients. I consider myself quite good at team building. And that's part of what I want to do. I want to build an international business, and we're well underway, and we've some more steps to go.
And investors watching this will know that you're not the only new addition to the board as well. Who else has come in with you, and did they come in with your approval? Have they come in at the same time with your backing?
No, I quickly realised that as we transform from purely a military training provider to a full solutions provider, we were going to need an awful lot of skills that we didn't have, especially in the big corporate world, because we were seeing these pipeline opportunities, typically dealing with very large companies, like imagine a large utility company, and yet the training type of experience of the founders didn't really match the profile of those clients. So I brought in Jerry Dempsey as the CFO. Jerry's got you know, a great background. He's worked in Microsoft, Diageo, very large multinationals. Paul Ryan is a director of strategy. He came from the telecommunications world, big Vodafone and other backgrounds. And we brought in Bill Bowers as a sales and marketing director, and he comes from the Vodafone and the Alcatel and that software stroke telecommunications world. I thought that was a perfect match for the ultimate client needs.
Okay, let's take a look at the share price. We've got a chart. It just takes us back just to, well, let's bring it up to the beginning of this year. You were appointed at the 1st of October, and
that's right.
I think investors got to know about it, pretty much the low point of the shares there, when we were at something like 4.5 pence. We're now at 6.8 pence a share. What do you say to investors about where you're going with this company? Those that are in the business, in the company as a shareholder, will know that the last half-yearly results were pretty dreadful. I mean, there's a massive, great big drop in revenue from the previous year. Yeah. How are you approaching this now, and what do you say to investors about where you're going in 2016?
Well, we've an objective of $100 million in sales and a £1 share price. So that's our objective. That's
what sort of time scale are you talking about?
3 years, within 3 years. Now,
right.
It'll be up to the market how quick it wants to get us there, but that's our intention, to get there within 3 years. In terms of the current results, I'd actually say they're relatively meaningless, to be quite honest with you. This industry hasn't even started yet. It has not even started yet. And we're working, say, in a lot of the, we are moving, say, take GeoCurve, for example. Part of the strategy there is move away from very small type business, you know, 20, 30 grand type contracts, to million plus type contracts. And in only 3 or 4 months, we've made very good progress that behind the scenes, I'm very happy with. I would say that most of our big clients, it's pretty much 6 months to get to contract stage, because you have to go in, you have to prove what you're capable of, you have to do test flights, then you have to integrate with their data, show them what your data solutions can provide. It takes about 6 months. This is a commercial client, military's even longer. It takes about 6 months to work through that process. We only started a couple of months ago. So I think it's going to be mid-16 before we see significant numbers. But if I looked 3 years out, I'd be quite confident that we've a really good chance of achieving our objectives.
And that objective is a mixture of organic growth and acquisition? Yeah,
effectively, we've undertaken a couple of transactions, as we discussed. We have another few in the pipeline, which are likely to happen in the not too distant future. And combined, they deal with all the service offering. So if you think of the service offering for commercial and military, it ranges from hardware all the way down to software and the training and the regulation in the middle. So we looked at ourselves and said, what can we provide? Where are the gaps in what we can provide? And the acquisitions are to fill in those gaps. So, you know, within a matter of months, we'll have filled in all those gaps, and then we'll be working collectively. We all have existing pipelines, and they're all growing as I speak.
Yeah, so 2016, before you get to that 3-year target, so 2016, what should we watch for in terms of some of our...
That will be a transitionary year.
Right.
So in the first 6 months of 16, we'll be building, we'll be generating £1 million type contracts, but we'll be working behind the scenes on the 5-10 million pound type contracts, and they'll be starting to kick in from late 16.
Okay, well look, it's a pleasure, and thanks for joining us with a look at the business. And that's Strat Aero's Chief Executive, Tony Dunleavy.